This is the best thing about DAOs. You can basically accelerate your career at unimaginable pace. When you are defining your own incentives, it's individual contributors' responsibility, not be too greedy, so community can be convinced, and don't be too conservative as well. Now, I personally don't consider that as a DAO. So to be a DAO, you need an on-chain interaction that is directly executable from your account through Web3 apps.
Hey everyone, before we get into this video about EdgewareDAO with Shankar Warang, just a quick announcement about this channel. Salman Needs a Job, the project has been selected by DAO Drops for their first round of retroactive public goods funding, which is an initiative by D.org and a grant pool by the Ethereum Foundation. This is for people's contribution to the Ethereum ecosystem. If you're watching this, I would request you to kindly go to DAOdrops.io and connect your wallets and see if you're eligible to vote, and I would really appreciate some allocations, vote allocations. The vote eligibility is based on certain conditions, based on your on-chain activity, very specific on-chain activity. In fact, I myself am not eligible to vote. I have been working on this project, these videos that you see, for quite some time now, and I don't make anything from it. I would really appreciate if you could vote for me. Enjoy this video about EdgewareDAO. A very special, very interesting conversation. See ya.
Sure.
Hey everyone, what is up? I'm Salman and welcome to Salman Needs a Job. I'm here with Shankar, who is a community operations lead and council member at EdgewareDAO. So we are both here at an event, one of the side events around, not side events, actually a demo event by Polygon and Builders Tribe in Bangalore. And we met, and he was telling me about the fact that he actually works at EdgewareDAO now. He's a full-time DAO contributor who earns in native tokens. He has previously worked at Biconomy and a few other places. And what was particularly interesting for me is the fact that he actually chose this lifestyle because of the ethos of decentralization. Am I right?
Yep, totally. Nailed it, the introduction.
So, how are you? How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me here.
Where are you coming from, by the way?
Oh, I'm from Mumbai.
Okay. So tell me more about yourself, about your background before you got into DAOs and everything. Just a quick one before that. When did you start contributing to EdgewareDAO?
Mm-hmm. So I started contributing to EdgewareDAO back in 2020. And before I started contributing to EdgewareDAO, it was already live as a solo chain. But about my story, in engineering, in second year itself, I realized that most of those mass recruiters actually don't care about your career. They don't care about your growth. They don't care about your skill sets, or they just want a raw strength, or you could say raw talent from all the salaried employees. And that's how the situation here in India.
You mean they just extract the talent out of people?
Yes.
That's all they need. Yes. They need some talent from you, and they take it. That's it. They don't care about the human that is behind the talent.
And that's why the fire and hire culture has came to India, where we have a lot of IT-based mass recruiters. And that time I realized, I'm from electrical engineering background, by the way. So in electrical engineering, you can learn about electrical, obviously, but apart from electrical domain, you can also learn about some smaller part of electronics, some parts of communication, some parts of IT and blockchain. So
you can learn about blockchain in electrical engineering?
No, sorry, not blockchain, computer. While computer is related to blockchain. So when I was studying, I had a lot of interest in Android ROM development from my second year of junior college itself. So by the time I reached engineering, I was a good Android custom ROM developer.
Nice.
So
when was this?
That was back in 2017, or yes, around that. So
I used to play around with ROMs a lot, CyanogenMod and many others.
Yes,
even MIUI before.
CyanogenMods were true revolutionary things, and I used to compile ROMs for MediaTek devices, and they didn't had any kind of custom tree or source code available. So that was challenging, and that introduced an hurdle mentality in me, or hustle mentality in me. And from there, I started to, this was completely like an enthusiastic role. I wasn't getting paid. I used to get a lot of feedback from the users of those mobiles, and they used to be happy, and that basically gave me dopamine. Okay. And since then,
I know. So the fact that I used to, install these custom mods and all that, ROMs and all, people used to think I'm some kind of a phone technician, and they used to give me their phone for fixing, for repair. And actually, it used to work. Just flash a ROM.
Exactly. We just want to take the full advantage of the device, and that's why we used to use the custom ROMs. And we don't want all this tracking and everything. At that time, that was not a buzz. Like now, everyone cares about tracking and everything. But at that time, only true enthusiasts would have care about tracking.
Just to close in on the ROM topic, because I'm interested in that too. What is the state of it right now? Nobody cares, because I think phones are already implemented everything that people have wanted from these ROMs.
Exactly. So Cyanogen mode rebranded to Lineage OS, and since then, a lot of competitors like OnePlus started with Cyanogen mode. And that's how they grab all the enthusiast people to their brand. And over the time, a lot of brands realized that. So they started taking inspirations from the custom ROMs. And at this point, custom ROMs do exist. But it's not that adopted. Yes.
At that time. That was crazy. It is so much fun, actually.
Yes.
Or XDA sure. And all, but very unsafe also. Anyway, so let's get into your work.
Yes. So from there, through GitHub trends, I came across blockchain. And ever since I was like, oh, this is cool. Here, I can be what I want to be. Here, I can define what I want to contribute, what skill sets I want to provide to a certain company. So at that time, I wasn't aware about DAOs.
So blockchain itself gave you this idea about permissionless contribution?
You could say that. So
what did you see about what is about blockchain that gave you this impression?
Oh, by the way, I got introduced through a wrong channel. So back in 2017, my first introduction to blockchain was through an ICO, and you must have known that ICO did good in short term, but not in long term. So over the time, I realized, oh, that's cool. I see a lot of people working for those projects. I can provide those services as well. So despite being from an electrical engineering background, I started working as a community manager. So I reached out
for these ICO projects.
Yes.
So you've been doing community management from ICO days.
Yes. So at that time, the community management was very easy thing. I thought this is good thing to get started and learn about different things. And from there, I used to basically reach out to different projects, learn about them. And this was a fun thing, not like a career thing. And that's how I came across the blockchain domain. And then I realized, oh, this is all just a gamification. And the core principles are very different from what the hype was all about. Like every single cycle is all about one trend. At that time, it was all about TPS, transaction per seconds. And now it's all about TVL, transaction volume. So total volume block, sorry. So it's about trends, but those trends don't last. Trends are not helpful for sustainability. You can become a good project in short term using those trends. But to be a sustainable, you need to follow the core values which blockchains have, or Satoshi Nakamoto introduced. And from there...
So you actually started appreciating these values from very beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how our conversation just happened. Before that, just to zoom in on that, what did community management look like at that time? Where were these platforms and discussions happening?
Oh, majorly Telegram management, then social...
So Telegram back in 2017 itself?
Yes. Okay. So answering a lot of things, not only just non-technical, we also learn a lot of, we by means other community managers as well, learn a lot of smaller, easier technical things, and we used to answer to basically investors or anyone who is developing in the ecosystem or anything related to that specific project.
So you have to be knowledgeable. It's like a little bit of a customer support.
Yes. So you need to have like a brief introduction to every single domain about that specific project. And from there, actually, I got to learn a lot about what's wrong and what's right. Because when you learn from different projects, so I started with just one project. Then when that was just a short-term contract for 2 months. So ICO happened, and after 2 months, all the communication went down across the Telegram. And so they started trimming down their employees. Then I moved on to a different...
So what was the pay like that? It was in crypto?
Yes, it was in crypto, and it was definitely more than what Indian standards offer.
Okay. So were you studying while you were doing all this?
Yes. So funny thing is, I was very inspired by these projects. I wasn't so much a money guy. So when this thing happened to my life, like this was a revolutionary thing. So when I started working for another project, I used to wake up at 2 a.m. Then used to moderate across Telegram, Discord until 6 a.m. And then I used to go to the college.
Wow, crazy. So this literally like totally synchronous moderation.
Yes.
Okay,
you have to be so focused. You have to basically...
It's a serious job. It's not like I'm just community manager on
Exactly.
ICO.
Like it's the standards are different for different projects. So the standard set by that project was to answer within 10 minutes. So I need to be focused. But yes, obviously you can do different things along with the moderation, like learning something or doing things. But apart from the moderation, community management involves other responsibilities as well. For example, for one project, I used to basically manage the KYC thing. So I was totally new, and they basically introduced me that you need to do this. So community management is a role from where you can learn or evolve into any domain. So from there,
I have to really appreciate this conversation already, I swear, because I've been having discussions about community management with a few people, even over the past few days, and this conversation was, I did not see it going this way, and really, like, you're giving some great insights already.
So from community management, I thought, yes, I'm from an engineering background. I could do something more. So from there, I started learning about technicalities, and I basically side by side started basically learning basic things like Solidity. Anyone can learn Solidity. It's not a tedious language like Rust, and and then I basically reached out to Biconomy. So then I worked for Biconomy as a developer evangelist or developer relations role. And then I came across Edgeware.
When was that?
It was approx an year ago.
So early days of Biconomy, kind of.
Yes, when Biconomy had no plans of doing token sales. So at that time they were focused on, like, we want to create value in the ecosystem. We don't care about token sale, and they stay. But VCs are basically something that put pressure on the founders. Sometimes, not all VCs does that, but that basically put pressure to do the token sale and use that token in the ecosystem, even if that doesn't serve a purpose in short term. Maybe that could serve a purpose in long term, but it's completely speculative or different topic.
Yeah, and that's your opinion.
Yes,
it's
my
not
personal opinion.
Cool. So let's get into it. So you did some time in DevRel, and then were you happy with it? What's wrong? Why did you?
So at that time, Biconomy was very early stage. So I worked with Sachin, Aniket on a lot of things, and then I got very less assignments. So then I thought I should move on to something where I can define my own roles or my own deliverables. And I guess Biconomy ever since evolved so good. They moved from just meta transaction to an SDK level infrastructure. And I'm happy. I'm not sad that I should have kept working on Biconomy. And in fact, moving from Biconomy to Edgeware. So back in 2018, I participated in Edgeware's log drop. So that was the event I got introduced from one of the exchanges who participated in the lock drop. And
What is a lock drop?
lock drop is basically a way to do a proper or diverse distribution. So this was a concept introduced.
Distribution of tokens?
Tokens, yes. So this was the concept introduced by Commonwealth Labs back in 2018. So they hosted the lock drop for Ethereum holders. So those who participated in lock drop. So in lock drop, you can basically lock your Ethereum in a smart contract for, let's say, 3, 6 or 12 months, or even do signaling where you don't send Ethereum to another lock drop contract. By the way, those lock drop user contracts are specifically designed such a way that only the user who locks the Ethereum can only retrieve back the Ethereum, no one else. Or you can just hold your Ethereum in your own wallet and just signal. But the multipliers are different for, like, higher for lock drop and even higher for the lock drop with higher period.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the content out of ETH India, out of India Blockchain Week. Just a quick commercial break. I have a juice box campaign that I have up where you can support me by contributing. Yeah, just contributing to make to help me keep my lights on as I continue to do this. If you like the content that you're seeing on this channel, if you like the work I'm doing, consider supporting. So you participated on lock drop for Edgeware.
Yeah.
Is lock drop a common concept?
Since Edgeware introduced it, a lot of new projects adapted it. For example, Astar also copied or took inspiration from Edgeware's lock drop. And by the way, they use that lock drop mechanism on different chains. But the concept behind hosting the lock drop on just one chain is to take the full shared community, or have the full shared community and vision of one chain, who is the most decentralized chain, nothing other than Ethereum. So back in 2018, so at that time I was not at all involved. So Commonwealth Labs introduced this lock drop, and Edgeware's lock drop got involvement from Binance, Coinbase Ventures, Framework Ventures, and even DAOs, OG DAOs of that time, like Argon. And because of that lock drop, by the way, in lock drop, you can basically set any % of supply to that lock drop participants. So 90% of the total supply was given to the Ethereum holders who participated in lock drop or signaling. So that's how this diverse distribution was achieved. That's how I personally refer it as a shared community because of that event.
Wow. Okay. So that is what formed the DAO?
Not really. So since the lock drop happened, Commonwealth Labs basically launched the Edgeware Solo Chain. Solo Chain is one type of substrate chain.
So just like, not to get too technical, what is Edgeware? Is it a company? Is it a centralized company? And what do they do? Edgeware, not the DAO.
So Edgeware is a governance experiment by Commonwealth Lab, which turned it into a self-sustainable ecosystem. And now it's not under just the influence of Commonwealth Lab. It is completely community-owned, community-run. And there is a difference between community-owned and community-run. For example, a lot of DAOs, or those who call themselves a DAOs, are community-run DAOs. While community-owned DAOs basically needs a true decentralization, where you don't only rely on the method of governance participation, but also the distribution. So to be a truly decentralized, you need full democracy in some way, as well as a proper distribution. That's why the 90% distribution to Ethereum holders played a crucial role in getting this scenario where you could refer Edgeware ecosystem, or Edgeware Solo Chain at least, as a DAO chain.
Can you give me some other examples of DAOs that have this quality?
Argon DAO. Then there are many other DAOs as well, people constellation DAOs. That although that experiment failed, it was a really good experiment and really good effort. And there are many other examples, but there is always a catch. we are a DAO, but we don't have the full democracy, or we don't have proper distribution, or we don't have a certain type of perks which are allocated to just founding members. So you could say that if you want to be a true DAO, you need to be very involved with the community to such a way that you should be able to take the risk of getting booted from your own DAO as a founder. So that's getting booted part is not a bad thing from an outsider perspective. And this is not like a conventional booting, but it's a way. Like in case of Edgeware, at certain point of time, community disagreed with one of the proposal or certain proposals. Yes, so they voted against it, and then Commonwealth Labs basically became a passive contributor, where they still maintain some domain. Like we have 2 domains now. They still maintain RPC infrastructure. We have multiple RPC infrastructure providers as well. So, and they are also not that involved, but not that unhappy about it, because that basically triggered an momentum which onboarded many solo contributors. So Commonwealth, yes. So Commonwealth Labs are still holding EDG. They are still passive contributors.
EDG is the token. EDG.
Yes, the native token that is used to basically that was airdropped through the lock drop mechanism, and they are still like participating in other ecosystem as well. The major key point is, so when I joined I was the first solo contributor at EdgewareDAO. So on-chain contributor or solo on-chain contributor. So
can you explain that what it means to be an on-chain contributor?
Sure. So by on-chain contributor means your salary or your incentives for whatever you are doing is paid from the on-chain treasury. And in Edgeware's case, the on-chain treasury is not a multi-sig. So it's not owned by anyone, but governed by everyone through the full democracy. So
if it's a multi-sig, you don't feel it is...
Yes, it's not reliable, because there have been some cases where DAO participants, like community, voted for some actions while some signers hesitated, or sometimes in some cases they even didn't do the operation what community asked them to do because they had the signer authority.
Okay. So what's different in this case, Edgeware?
So in this case, the on-chain governance part, it's not a snapshot-based off-chain implementation. The on-chain governance, aka democracy, as well as the treasury, are basically pallets, part of the runtime, the blockchain runtime. For example, in case of Ethereum, EVM is part of the runtime. Similarly, in case of Edgeware, there are multiple pallets. But as Substrate is a modular architecture, so huge thanks and kudos to Parity who came up with this framework. So we utilize that framework and multiple pallets developed by different ecosystem. We also incubated own pallets. By we means community, and community basically funded from the treasury. So treasury, that's community owned development pallet. But more about that later on. So
what is the tool used to execute this transaction then?
So there are called Edge apps or Polkadot apps. Edge apps is basically a port of Polkadot apps with some added functionality. But in the end, users are basically interacting with pallets. Pallets can be as simple as for identity, as complex as smart contract environments. So we have 2 smart contract environments, EVM as well as EdgeWasm. EVM is vanilla EVM implementation, while EdgeWasm is ink-based smart contracts, where you can basically code in any language, but ink is most efficient. But as you ask about how they interact, so when these are just interface, Edge apps and Polkadot apps. So when they interact with these apps, they are interacting with those pallets. So based upon your balance, you are creating an on-chain transaction to do that interacts with the pallet. For example, if someone propose a treasury funding, that treasury funding first becomes a democracy proposal. Then that democracy proposal is basically scheduled for the referendum, and you just encode it once, and everything else is algorithmic. So once you encode, first it goes to signaling phase. At that phase, it's democracy.
Where does that happen? Where does the signaling happen?
It's on chain. So in its signaling phase, anyone who is holding the native token, aka EDG, can participate in the signaling. So if there are multiple proposals with the highest votes or signals will get into the referendum first. So there are launch period cycles. So in each launch period, every single democracy proposal becomes a referendum. And once it becomes a referendum, in signaling phase, it's like one account, one vote. And in referendum, it's like one EDG, one vote. And
Weighted voting.
And once it is referendum and it lasts for 7 days in our case, so everyone can participate in it. And based upon the bias, so if it is a supermajority bias, you basically need more than 90% of yes. And in case of simple majority bias, you basically need 51% or more. Yes.
What is this governance system called?
You could say on-chain governance, or
It's a form of on-chain.
Yes, there is no specific naming done by Parity. So
Is this method like exclusive to Edgeware? Something only?
No. This has been developed by Parity. So this function.
Parity is a word. I know. Too late into the conversation to be asking that.
Sorry, Parity is one of the OG contributors to the Ethereum ecosystem, and later on they came up with their own framework called Substrate. So they evolved this Substrate framework in such a way that it is so modular. So as we just discussed, the palettes are part of runtime. So anyone can develop a palette and propose it to the community through an upgrade, and then it's become part of runtime. So it's like a permissionless, it's like a community permissioned way of deploying something. Those palettes can be just specific to a DApp. And there are permissionless ways as well, like EdgeWare and EdgeWasm. So this was developed by Parity, and this is open to anyone. So you will find this across all the substrate chains, whether it is a parachain, whether it is a solo chain or a relay chain.
Very technical information. Subscribe to this channel, Salman is a job. And check out my Juicebox campaign. That's in the description. Consider supporting. So how did you learn all these things? Like, this sounds extremely sophisticated.
Yeah.
And you are a community operations guy, but you seem to be like a governance ninja. Because this is EdgewareDAO is a governance experiment. That's
Yes. So initially, I wasn't sure what are these. Like, you just need one thing to vote on. Why there is treasury proposal, then democracy proposal, then referenda. But I didn't learn about it from any of the documentation. I just used it, made some mistakes, and doing those mistakes doesn't harm me any speculative ways, because the worst it can do is lock up your EDG in your own wallet for a longer period of time. And that's the only thing that I came across. So by doing, I learned.
So when did you start getting involved in apart from the airdrop? When did you start contributing?
So when the solo chain was launched, after about 8 months.
Solo chain is a product by EdgewareDAO, is it?
You could say solo chain is the core of EdgewareDAO or Edgeware ecosystem. So it was started as a smart contract platform, aka layer 1. So it was a solo chain initially, and then it basically evolved into multiple things like DAOs, parachain factory model, and the whole ecosystem. Now it's not just restricted to the solo chain. But when I came across Edgeware back in 2020, at that time, actually there was a proper proposal on the governance forum. This was written by Tom Ivy, who earlier worked for Commonwealth Labs. Then he became a solo contributor, or you could say he came up with an idea called agency, which is one of the contributing entity. Later on, the agency got decentralized. So he actually write a proper proposal to basically attract community managers. So I saw that, I went through it, and he basically curated everything because I was a newbie about the governance at that time. And
so it was kind of a job application, but a job, job requirement, but in a decentralized way.
Yes, anyone can see that, anyone can apply to that. And when I became the first on-chain contributor, he basically took care of all the governance elements, like whether it's about sponsoring the 5% bond. By the way, if you are to avoid any wrong usage of the governance system, there is a 5% bond requirement. So if you are asking for a proposal with some number of ETG, you basically need to bond 5% of it, and you get it returned if the proposal approves, or it gets slashed if the proposal disapproves. And this can be bonded by anyone. So let's say, this is the big thing, because in Edgeware community, whenever a new proposal comes in, there are a lot of enthusiastic people who wants to bond their EDG because they have like valued interest, no? So because adding a value to the Edgeware ecosystem is basically beneficial for them. So they are happy to basically sponsor the 5% bond on behalf of the new contributors who don't even hold EDG. So to be a part of a DAO, you don't necessarily need to hold EDG.
This is all very complicated, bro. This is too complicated. But I appreciate this conversation. So tell me about like how new members can get into it. First of all, how's the opportunity of contributing in this space and DAOs in general? What's your view on that?
Oh, so in most of the true DAOs, you can basically go to the governance forum or any place where they do the pre-governance discussion and pitch your proposal by yourself, or you can find some guidance. There might be some curators. So in true DAOs, usually anyone can propose your own deliverables, and this is how it should be. Like if there is a role about, let's say, community management itself, then if that community manager wants to also contribute on little bit on business development side, then he should be able to. So when you are working in a DAO environment, you should be able to define your own role. You should be able to not only just name, but the deliverables and how you want to deliver it. Like in case of Edgeware, there is no restriction. Anyone can become a contributor. Like if you want to contribute just 1 hour in a month, you can do that. You just need to let the community know, and you need to convince the community and not any single set of team or set of people. So you basically need to convince the community that you are adding value, and they will vote on it.
So when you say propose, is that the way to like start contributing, to actually suggest that, hey, I'll be doing these are my deliverables?
No,
because then
right. So, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so that would be if they want to do like volunteer contributions, or do you want to assign a bounty for it yourself?
Yes. So actually, this was not a framework. So we realized that lot of contributions contributors started as a voluntary contribution. They just contributed it, and then they let the community know about it. And this is how we came up with the idea of on-chain reputation. So, by the way, this is the idea by one of the contributors, Richard Wells, and he could speak well more in detail about that than me. But what he basically said is there should be no hard and fast rule for any contribution. So whenever someone new contributor reach out to me as a personally, I suggest that you could start as a smaller scale of voluntary contribution. Just let the community know, and then anyone from the community can raise a treasury tip. So the treasury tip is acknowledged through indirect democracy, where only council members can vote on it, while a proposal, which is on a bigger scale, is mostly voted by all the community members.
What is your role as a community operations person right now? What does your day look like?
So it's like my day starts with Edgeware, ends with Edgeware. I handle literally, and I don't handle. I would say I contribute to almost all the domains, like whether it is business development, PR, little bit of content, working with community managers or moderators, working with social media team, working with core developers, potential runtime developers, new ecosystem members, and like it's little bit of everything. And I don't have like hard and fast defined restriction to which I can contribute. So I do code for fun on weekends as well.
No, about like what about the other types of contributions? What kind of opportunities exist there?
These are infinite. For example, we didn't even realize that we need a content manager until the content manager shows up with the proposal. So in some cases, community collectively, we do have like a weekly calls, 5 weekly calls for different domains. So in that we discuss, yes, we need something in this domain. So when we realize, so earlier I used to do all the moderation. So I used to be community manager as well and community moderator as well, along with all these things. So that was very time consuming. So I thought, why not onboard dedicated moderators? So I just came up with an idea. Anyone can come up with an idea. So similarly, I came up with an idea where I hosted a quiz in the community. So anyone can participate in it. Anyone can verify what's the score of individual participants, and the answers were also reshuffled, questions also shuffled. So it's like a fair way to basically onboard the moderators, because moderator needs to be well versed with the ecosystem, and that's why I came up with the idea of this quiz. So by hosting this quiz, we basically I write down a draft. So anyone can write a draft for your own proposal or for other contributors as well. And that draft goes on the community forum, like Commonwealth Forum or anything. Their community can basically involve in the discussions. And if they like the idea or if they have any feedback, they will just relay it. And then you will get to understand that, yes, now this is at a stage where I can execute it. And then I basically hosted that event and onboarded multiple moderators. And those moderators were not very much aware of the DAOs. So basically introducing them to the ecosystem was also a little bit a learning curve. And over the time, they also became kind of a community managers. So from where I came from,
They're all paid contributors after this quiz?
Yes. So in the draft itself, anyone can define that for this role, this is the good incentives. So any other community can say that this is high or low, we can change that to this. So there can be multiple feedbacks as well. And the proposal, since it is, that's why we call it as a draft. So it gets changed iteratively multiple times.
So if you can also tell me about, if you don't mind, like what is the kind of incentives that are like in DAOs? You get paid in native tokens. How does it work? How does your IRL how does it translate to your IRL income?
So when you are working for a DAO, you will most probably be paid in treasury. So in this case, there are no signers. So these are not transfers. So community votes on the proposals, and the treasury algorithmically disburse the amount that is received by the proposal or the recipient, the contributor. And one more thing.
Some serious decentralization and automation.
And there are challenges as well. For example, I mentioned launch period, which is of 2 days. So in a month, only 15 proposals can go live. So you can't basically disburse salaries every month. So that's why we came up with a framework called SCU, Solo Contributors Union. So what SCU does is all the contributors who got at least one proposal approved, they can be part of it. It's not an entity, it's just a framework. It basically combines at least once approved community contributors' proposals or incentives together. And then the treasury disbursement occurs to a multi-sig. And that multi-sig is disbursed, and the multi-sig signers are those contributors themselves. And then to their individual accounts.
So is it, how is the pay? Is it good?
It's completely up to the contributor how much they want the basically convince how much incentives is proper for them.
So are you proposing the incentive yourself, or is it like a peer-to-peer or something?
It's self-defined. For example, when I wrote the draft for community moderators, that time I suggested those values as a personal individual. Then if someone would have suggested different values, then we have made the iterations. But that didn't happen. So those incentives were fixed for those moderators. But when those moderators realized that they can also contribute to other domains, they started evolving their contribution. And this is the best
This is the future of work.
Yes, this is the best thing about DAOs. You can basically accelerate your career at unimaginable pace. So they came up with their individual role upgrade proposals, where they mention that these are the additional deliverables, and for those I would like to have these many more incentives along with my base incentives. So it's completely up to the contributor because those were not defined by them. But if someone is joining the contribution journey, let's say they start with voluntary contribution, get the treasury tip, then they come up with their own proposal, get the feedback from the community, and once it's on chain, it's basically an algorithmic process as we discussed. So there is no review stage. No centralized review stage. There is a feedback stage, and reviews are kind of centralized because those are from specific people or entities, while feedback can be from any community members. So when you are defining your own incentives, it's individual contributors' responsibility to basically not be too greedy, so community can be convinced, and don't be too conservative as well. So that way you are getting a proper incentives.
Fantastic insights here. The work happens on Discord, all of the work?
No, we are not a Discord-based DAO. So majority of DAOs use snapshot-based functionality, and that's an off-chain. And that snapshot integration is done with, let's say, token-gated Discord. So that's not I personally don't consider that as a DAO. So to be a DAO, you need an on-chain interaction that is directly executable from your account through Web3 apps, not Web2 apps like Discord.
You're too much. It's fine. Don't take it. Be easy. But what do you mean? Like, what are these on-chain interactions? Wallet-to-wallet chat? What is it?
So on-chain interaction can be anything. Like every palette has different functions. So for example, democracy has voting function. Then that also has...
Where do you coordinate?
Oh, for coordination, you can use any platform. So in case of Edgeware, that's differ for DAOs to DAOs. So in case of Edgeware, we have the governance forum where all the proposals come and review stage, comments, everything. But we have conventional platforms as well. Like
governance forum where?
It's gov.edgeware.re.
So it's a discourse?
No. It's not a discourse. It's a product designed or developed by Commonwealth Labs. So Commonwealth Labs actually developed this specifically for Edgeware, but later on...
So there's a Commonwealth forum. Is that by this company?
Yes,
okay.
exactly. So Commonwealth Labs come with the Commonwealth forum, and gov.edgeware.re is basically a white label version of Commonwealth forum.
So Commonwealth also has chat.
Yes.
So you guys use that as well?
No, that's a recent functionality, and it's not yet ported to our community. So it's under testing, I guess.
So where do you all chat? Where do you all do calls?
Okay, so for calls, we use Discord. But for only calls, not for governance, voting, nothing.
Not for voting, I meant just general coordination.
Yes.
It's on Discord, right?
And for other communications, like we can use anything. So in case of Edgeware, Discord, Telegram, and Element channels, rooms, groups are bridged together using T2 bridge. So the T2 bot is basically designed by Matrix itself. Matrix is basically a backend of Element. So you can basically use any preferred platform to communicate with it. So let's say if you are communicating using Telegram, but I'm more of a Discord guy, then I can reply it through Discord. I can see your message. You will see my message on Telegram.
Awesome. Now the battery is dead, so it's fine. We have audio. We'll have a screen there.
Sure.
But I think this was a great conversation and super duper insightful. Thank you so much. Tell me your Twitter where people can find you and follow you.
@Warang Shankar, WARANG SHANKAR.
I'll drop it in the description. And Edgeware, why should people get involved?
It's an open ecosystem for anyone. It was started as a governance experiment without any backing, without any token sale. So it so far proved on sustainability. So the sustainability is what people should look for in the contribution journey across any DAOs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all enjoyed this conversation.
Definitely.